exist as my mom's white and my dad's black. Yeah, again, we were just thank you for your super chat, Andrea. We're just talking about this, like how like Afghanistan just won't catch up with modern thought. We won't, man. We won't. We're not modern. We're medieval. We just fired a principal because he dared to marry someone.
We're overturning women's rights. You know, one of the things they complain about is Afghani women who are having to deal with all of the things the Taliban are going to put in place to reverse their rights. That sounds familiar.
Okay, let's have a bit of levity. This is a funny one. I like this. We're gonna move into this story now. Hawaii is trying very hard to stop people from bringing COVID to the islands. And so you need to submit proof of vaccination. Well, a woman has been found violating it. And wait until you find out how they discovered that she was lying. She's a 24-year-old woman arrested and charged on suspicion of falsified vaccination documents. The Department of the Attorney General said she submitted a fake COVID vaccination card in order to avoid Hawaii's mandatory 10-day quarantine. So how did they discover this? Because we're gonna bring it up and it might at first look kind of legitimate. And we know that people are selling these. We're gonna give you information on that in a bit. Well, the issue was, and let's bring up this photo, that when she had to list which vaccine she'd gotten, she said the Moderna, but she said the Moderna, and that's not a vaccine. You just heard someone say that once. You never Googled it, did you? Come on, Chloe. That's not what it is. I took the J and A. I got the J and I got the A. First dose J, second dose A. I think that's what I got. I got the fixer. I got the vaccine fixer. It's in me. I'm all fixed now. I think that's why they call it that.
I got the Fatser, PH.
It was a really big syringe. It was one of those Fatsers, you know? No, but seriously, Chloe Mrazak was arrested at the airport, faces a maximum sentence of a year in prison, and is reportedly being held on $2,000 bail. By the way, like she could have gotten in without the vaccine, but you do have to quarantine for 10 days so that you're not spreading it on this like tight, like it's just a small community of people that don't want COVID. And by the way, they've done a pretty good job throughout the pandemic. It's a little bit easier because they're an island, but they do have to be careful with the airplanes. But now they've moved from about 30 cases a day up to 553. So almost 20 times as much COVID. And so they are trying to be very careful about who is coming in. And having people who are willing to lie about their vaccination is just so callous, so selfish, so that you can go to the beach. You're gonna risk potentially getting someone sick or killing them.
Yep.
Anyway, any thoughts?
No, it's pretty obvious. It's just what it is. Nobody really cares about anyone else. They detach themselves from society and reality to make sure they can go on an island vacation. If nothing else, respect the laws of where you're going. What about the Law and Order Party? I'm not sure what her affiliation is, but the thought process of just I can do whatever the hell I want and move in through this because they have a rule put in place. If you want to go, follow the rules, bro. It's simple. It's straightforward. I don't see where you can die on that hill from and feel like you're the legitimate person.
Or you could just get the vaccine. There's a lot of different options. Like, and by the way, maybe like you don't want to go to like a doctor technically, but you can go like Captain Cornball went to, I'm assuming a psychic to get the AstraZeneca vaccine. That one's it makes you think about Aquarius, cancer, and stuff like that. But anyway, so I don't know if she made this herself or if she got it bought. We do know that people are selling these. A New Jersey woman who used the Instagram handle Anti-vax Mama, so that was sort of a tip-off, was charged in a conspiracy to sell hundreds of fake coronavirus vaccination cards over Instagram. Manhattan prosecutors said that yesterday. She sold about 250. How much? She charged $200 for them. For 250 more, she would enter a customer's name in New York's official immunization database.
Yeah. So how many other people are maybe doing this that we don't hear about yet? You know, the other people on Instagram who are named free fake vaccine cards here as their title names on their handles on Instagram. I don't know. Maybe it's hard for them to track these folks down. It doesn't seem like it should be that hard, but you know.
Well, when they're advertising on Instagram. And by the way, Instagram supposedly is taking misinformation seriously for like a year. Yeah, good luck with that. And so she's doing this to get like $200. Like how many people are gonna get sick? Yep. We just had the audience member who the anti-vaxxer exposed them and both of them got like horribly ill. Like how many people will die so that you can make a couple $100? Pathetic, pathetic country. Anyway, JR, unfortunately, we're also out of time.
Yes.
But as always, thank you for being here. It would not be Big News Wednesday without you.
I mean, the time flew by, as you said. It's too much fun to be had. I guess we'll wait until next time. I'm gonna make sure that my boy, by the way, his name is not Malcolm. I misnamed him earlier. His name is actually Barry, my friend Barry. He's relaxing. He's relaxing right now, but we'll get him going later.
It takes a lot of energy to dance those sweet moves. Anyway, have a happy inflatable arm flailing day, JR.
It's gonna be wonderful. We'll see you later on TYT, right, bro?
Yep, I'm gonna be joining Anna Kasparian for the second hour of the Young Turks. So everyone stay tuned for that. But before that, we have indisputable Dr. Rashad Ritchie, Cenk Uygur. You're not gonna wanna miss it. But until next time, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.
Yep. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Ritchie. Good to be with you. We got a lot on the agenda today. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking down news of the day with me, none other than my brother from another mother. Jank will be with me breaking it down all day. Now, bullpen segment, going to be interesting because I actually agree with this guy on some stuff. Looking at his social media feed, not a whole lot of stuff though. All right, so that should be a great bullpen debate. Top story of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, middle-aged white male wanted. He has multiple warrants for his arrest. Yes, we're talking about the angry white man who is in the viral video accosting a correspondent for NBC News. You all have seen this video. Let's go back to it as a reminder.
They did get some reports of some down power lines, of some trees that have fallen, or at least limbs that have fallen. So they're going to go ahead and do that survey to make sure that they're okay. Craig, I'm going to toss it back because we have a person who needs a little help right now.
Hey. We're going to check in with Shaq Brewster just to make sure all is well. There's a lot of crazy out there, a lot of crazy. And Bill Cairns, thank you as well. Again, we'll make sure Shaq's okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of criminal too out there. There are a whole lot of thugs like this guy out there, middle-aged white men who commit acts of criminality, walking in their privilege to do so. This guy was literally driving through Mississippi, and he decided to get out of his truck, commit a crime on camera, knowing he was being recorded. You have to ask the question, are they now doing these things in order to be recorded? Because literally, there's a section of society who will continue to celebrate individuals like him. Okay, who is he? His name is Benjamin Eugene Dagley. Police have issued an arrest warrant for the angry white man seen in the viral video, aggressively confronting NBC correspondent Shaquille Brewster during coverage of Hurricane Ida in Mississippi on Monday. Now remember, Shaq Brewster is literally putting his life in danger in order to give life-saving information to other people. That's what he's doing. In the statement, the Gulfport police said Mr. Dagley, the criminal here, has left the Mississippi Gulf Coast and is on the run in a white Ford pickup truck. That was visible in the video of the incident. This guy faces 2 counts of simple assault, 1 count of disturbing the peace, and 1 count of violating an emergency curfew. Now get this, and this is why I said yesterday, you can't play with people like this. You don't know what this individual is capable of, and if another person other than Mr. Brewster would have been there, he may have caught them hands. That's called self-defense, okay? Self-defense. Now, this guy is also suspected of violating his parole, which reportedly stems, get this, from charges that he once nearly caused an environmental disaster by drilling holes in tanks containing dangerous chemicals in Ohio. According to police, his parole includes travel restrictions. According to Cleveland.com, this same individual was involved in a financial dispute with an electroplating company when he broke into the facility in 2019 and drilled holes in tanks containing sodium cyanide, hydrochloric acid, yellow chromate, ferrous chloride, and sulfuric acid. Damn. You heard all that, right? Now, literally, we just covered yesterday a woman, or day before yesterday, a woman who was charged with using a weapon of mass destruction because she put her saliva on food. It gets deeper. The incident sent a security guard to the hospital with cyanide poisoning. An employee said the released chemicals were severe enough to cause large-scale catastrophe, and the gentleman knew exactly what he was doing. Whoa. He's on the run Can somebody identify him? Let the authorities in Gulfport know exactly where he's at. We need to get this criminal off the street. Jake, what are your thoughts here?
All right, we'll start out light and get real serious. So first of all, white Ford pickup truck. I wish he at least did the slow speed chase so we can catch him. Right. Some people did it right. Okay. So number two, what happened to just comply with police orders? You remember whenever black folks ask for name, ID of police, or just ask for their rights, people say, well, just comply with the police. Just shut up and comply. This guy's on the run, okay? Yep. Doesn't look like he's complying. So I assume all the right wingers out there are gonna be like, go get that son of a bitch. Do whatever you have to do, shoot him in the back if you have to. I mean, that's what they say about black folks, right? So now, if that wasn't serious enough, now let's get to the heart of it, right? So when I was a kid, I grew up in a nice town, suburb, and it seemed to me at least that we didn't have too much discrimination. We had lots of different races, colors, etc., backgrounds, and I'm sure that I didn't see it right. I was a kid, right? But I thought, well, hey, it looks pretty good, right? And then when I grew up and I became a man, I put childish things aside and I realized, oh no, there's massive racism in this country. And you can see the discrimination in different forms, right? But the thing that I still missed until much later was it's not just that they discriminate against people of color, women, etc. And you're seeing that down in Texas and all over the country. It's the proactive white privilege that's amazing. So, and there's a picture perfect case of it. Cyanide poisoning. Now, think for a second, pause. What if it was a Muslim man who decided that he was gonna do a cyanide poison attack? Do you think he'd be out on parole? No, everybody knows it. And again, even if you're a right winger, you know it.
Right.
You know that a Muslim man in America who did a cyanide poison attack is not going to be out at all. He's gonna get 20 to 30, if not life. But there is this, Rashad, I'm amazed by it. There's this, really, they're almost above the law. I remember the Bill Murray's character in Kingpin, he wins $1 million and starts screaming, I'm above the law. But if you're a white and a right winger in America, you don't need $1 million. It turns out you've always been above the law.
Yeah, and it's the narrative, right? The narrative benefits the individual who may not fit the bill, so to speak, right? And what you're talking about is narrative, and narratives have so much power in how we understand the society around us. So naturally, a Muslim person or somebody with an Islamic background, they would never be on parole for such a crime, right? Thank God the people who were victims are able to talk about it. But this individual, he's not rehabbed. He didn't learn a lesson. He didn't make a mistake, acknowledged it, and transformed from his ways. He's literally looking for fights, looking for opportunities to engage people criminally. All right, we got more school board stuff. This particular person says that this is actually the work of demons. Here it is.
My name is Melissa. I have 2 daughters in the school system. These are demonic entities and we need to stick together. Remember, we have authority in Christ Jesus. These are demonic entities in all the school boards of all the United States of America. And all of us Christians will be sticking together to take them all out. All the police officers that kick us out for our First Amendment right will also be going down with them. Do you understand? I'm a nurse, infectious disease, 13 years. Masks don't work. These doctors that sit up here that were sneering at us and looking at us like we're scumbags, they need to go back to medical school.
Ma'am, you're out of order. Please. This is your last warning.
Turn my mic on.
Communications.
They need to remember, natural immunity is best. You are all demonic entities. You are going to be taken down.
Me, ma'am. You've already had your first warning and this is your last. She cannot speak anymore.
Okay, all right, I feel like I have to clear this up. She believes in white Jesus, I do not, okay? Individuals like this make me feel embarrassed to tell people that I have a Christian faith background. Her and I do not believe the same. Now let's go to some of her commentary. She says masks do not work, contrary to every piece of scientific evidence known to man. Even if worn improperly, damn it works 40 to 60%. Worn properly, it works 90%. Masks do work. It decreases the spread of COVID-19. Settled science based on actual research surveyed by those who are inside of the medical profession. Oh, she says she is inside of the medical profession as a nurse. People that make comments like this, and let me tell you why I'm so hardcore about it. People that make public comments like this should have their license in the healthcare industry reviewed and revoked. And let me tell you why. If you are a licensed individual in a plethora of professions, if you engage the public in a certain way, you can be questioned. I'm talking about your actual credentials can be questioned. This person says she's a nurse. Now, we have not been able to independently verify that. Her name is Melissa. Let's put up a still of Melissa. There she is. Okay, that's Melissa. There's another parent, and remember, this is in that same school system where all the fights happened, Lee County, Florida. There's another parent who also shared thoughts at this very same meeting, along with Melissa, parent Brian Biggs, and he made sure we knew it was BIGGS, okay? Also expressed his disdain for the possible mask mandates while wearing a shirt that said, resist, defy, do not comply. Biggs said that child sex trafficking will increase if kids are forced to wear masks in school. Here he is.
How you doing? My name is Brian Biggs. Biggs, B-I-G-G-S, not Briggs. I want to talk about the real pandemic, child sex trafficking. By putting masks on these kids' face, you can't identify any of them. So by the 9 of you already voting on this, tells me you guys support sex trafficking.
Hey, sir, you're out of order.
Good.
I think he needs to immediately be placed under investigation. I really believe that. Okay, where is this coming from? Despite the opposition, the superintendent of the Lee County school system, his name is Ken Savage, opted to implement a 30-day mask mandate for all students and staff starting Wednesday, in a move supported by the Lee County board. And just remember, excuse me, all of these parents who are ready to go to war with school board members and school teachers, all of these individuals are already in compliance with various vaccine mandates. In order to go to any public school in America, you must have a certain vaccine background. And you have to present what vaccines you have in order to gain entry to that institution. I'm a former high school teacher, including teachers. Everybody has to get your tetanus, your polio, chickenpox, and a few others. And you have to present proof that you got them. If you work in the public school system, that's your passport, right? My point is, those have always been here. They have no problem with that. But they have a problem with non-chemical, non-intrusive mask mandates. That's what they have a problem with. Jank, the hypocrisy is unreal, brother. What are your thoughts here?
Well, first of all, my first question is there a job you haven't had? Okay, but now on to serious stuff. To your point about masks, look, there's tons of studies, etc. So you don't need this anecdote, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway because people sometimes can relate better to it. It turns out the girl sitting next to my daughter in elementary school had coronavirus, so they had to send my daughter back to our house a couple of weeks ago, right as school started, and it was a little scary. And there were 6 girls that were sitting at the table, and they all got sent home for about 2 weeks. And they were all wearing masks. None of them got coronavirus because the girl who had COVID was wearing a mask, and everybody else at the table was wearing a mask. If they weren't wearing masks, there's another story out of Florida, of course, where the teacher refused to wear a mask, was unvaccinated, and the first 2 rows in the class all got COVID, because he's breathing on him, and so that. And if she's a registered nurse, which I guess she is, although you know, Can you trust anything these people say? But if she is, they walk among us. You don't know. You don't know who's unvaccinated and who's crazy and who believes totally. She looks like a totally normal person. They all look normal, right? You can't tell. But there's zombies in the head. I mean, look, we'll get to the craziest, even crazier stuff in a second. But the natural immunity. She says, "Oh, natural immunity is best." Well, first of all, that's not exactly right. But even if that were right, yes. But remember, a lot of people don't make it to natural immunity. You know why? Because they die first.
That's right.
So we've had over 600,000 people die while trying to get natural immunity, or of course, most of them didn't have a choice in the beginning. And so they have no logic at all. It's a logic-free zone. And then the sense of entitlement is overbearing. So she says, "How dare you call us scumbags?" But earlier she'd called them demonic and said that they were gonna get taken down. So I have a right to threaten violence on you. I have a right to say you're a demon. Like, I mean, I'm not a religious person, but I assume that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I'm not allowed to even criticize you for being a lunatic. So, because why? I got privilege. I got right-wing privilege. I can say anything I want about you. I can kick you in the ribs. I can kick you in the face. I can give you deadly diseases. But if you say one unkind word about me, I'm gonna cry for hours and hours. And I'm gonna look for police. I'm gonna look for power and authority to say, "Oh, do something about that person. They hurt my feelings." You're trying to give us deadly diseases. So you'll excuse me if I don't give a damn about your feelings.
Very well said. I remember.
I don't know what to do with the demonic stuff.
Listen, man, that's her projecting, man. The only demon I saw there was her, brother. Because a demon or the devil is your adversary in the Koine Greek. That's what it means. And the only adversary I saw there to life and to progress was that supposed nurse. All right, we got more on the other side. Stick and stay, it's indisputable.
I'm back to gaslighting. Did you and I talk about gaslighting on Old School?
Probably.
That boss gaslit all his female employees. People who manipulate others like that make you feel like you're the weirdo. Why won't you punch yourself in the face? What is wrong with you? And you're like, oh my God, I feel so bad. Why didn't I just punch myself in the face and poke my eye out? I'm 47 and I just figured it out like earlier this year.
You figured out somebody was doing it to you, or that you were
that it was that it would have been happening my whole life and I didn't realize it.
Right.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richard. We got a lot happening today. But what do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I gotta let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know, maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was a white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it though.
I've been a fan of TYT, I believe, for the last 6 years.
5 years.
3 years now. 7 years.
4 years now.
2.5 years. I just started because she got me into it.
My boyfriend actually watches it every morning and every night, so I kind of just started watching it with him, and I love it. I mean, it's the only way that I find my news.
Looking through YouTube, looking for like, political shows that look cool.
I came across a very angry rant from Cenk, and that's when I knew.
So I was immediately in love with the show.
And then I
had like had a miss a live show since then.
10 times a day, I watch the show in the morning.
Whenever I had a bad day at high school, Young Turks.
Man, Cenk is just so blunt and honest, and I love the honesty, and there's no BS behind the news, and they just tell everything like it is.
There's nobody censoring them. There's nobody there to say you can't do this, you can't say that.
That feel of authenticity makes it seem like what they're saying is true.
I feel like I get the real story from the Young Turks.
I am TYT.
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 Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one. Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
Yep, welcome back. Good to have you here. Thank you for joining the conversation. We got a lot of viewer comment. Let's get to it. Before that, don't forget to watch the conversation today live, 5:30 Eastern time. That's 2:30 Pacific time. Also, tyt.com/live. That's right before the Young Turks. My big sister, Adrienne Lawrence, okay, hosting. You do not want to miss that. Make sure to subscribe and watch all interviews. All of them. YouTube.com/TYT conversation. All right, make that happen. We got a lot of viewer comments. TYT member Mickey C, the silver haired dragon says, "Oh my God, Dr. Richie and Cenk bracing for impact." LOL. Impact is here. Next TYT reporter. The news will be blowing up with terrorist attacks, chemical plant today. Exactly. That would be the headline. Not what he did to the reporter, but what he did to that plant or whatever it was he worked at, right? Elected miscellanea. I think that there's a lot of crazy out there, in quotes. Will be a great title for a book documenting the insane, hateful things that Karens are doing around the country. Unfortunately, it would have to either be an extremely long book or maybe come out with a new volume each year. I mean, maybe I need to start a book of the Karens of the world that we cover. I mean, that book will basically read and sell itself. All right, cognitive dissonance is a hell of a drug. I imagine the rallying cry for the crusade sounded a lot like this nurse's speech. We have authority in Jesus in 21st century America. Really? Yeah, I actually have a research paper out called The Global Effect of Western Religion on Politics, Policy, and Government. You can find that, Google the titles on Google Scholars. But I show that Christianity has actually started more wars than it ever stopped, okay? YouTube super chat, non-human humanist. Vaccines will work best if all who can be are vaccinated. I am worried about the children and people who can't be vaccinated for medical reasons. And that's why we have to work out protocols, right? That's why mask mandates are important too. Peter Hamby, Manstorm's reporter. Now cops want to rein him in. Cowards fears red lights. Haiku to the head, Turk. And the Richie Doc.
It's Peter with his haikus, love it.
I love the haikus, yes. Feral Dragon, she's not an RN. She couldn't pass the test. All right, this is, I can't confirm this. We're just reading what the comment is. She's not an RN, she couldn't pass the test. She's an LVN, one step above CNA, and hasn't been employed for a few years. BFF worked with her, Crazy was fired. That's interesting. Richard wrote for Congress. I know Melissa personally. I went to school with her. She's not a nurse anymore because she got busted doing something she wasn't supposed to do. Let me put it that way. That's what Richard says. All right, Moon Dragon. She sees demons everywhere. Worst, acid trip ever. Moondragon. That's actually the best acid trip. Not worse. Okay, Tyler Heckner. I can't believe I live in the same country as these people. Believe it. Thank you, Trisha Briggs, for that shout out to me and you, my dear brother. Thank you all. Hello from Spain, Dr. Richie, says Khalid. Thank you so much for that. Twitch, Jank with the call back. Nice. Multi-ball. Oh yes, I remember the demonic entities unit in med school. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this has got to stop, damn it. People are taking advantage of all of this anti-vax sentiment in the world. There's a New Jersey woman under the Instagram handle Anti-vax Mama. No, I kid you not. This woman has been charged by the Manhattan DA for selling fake COVID-19 vaccination cards. Now, we told you this would end up happening. We said it right here. She sold about 250 fake cards to New York healthcare workers. Let me say that again. 250 fake cards to New York healthcare workers, with a co-conspirator entering those people into the state vaccination registration database. You're talking about a sophisticated operation here. Now, we covered a medical doctor. He was just giving anti-mask excuses. He was charging $50 a pop, but these people have a whole operation of corruption and criminality, and a lot of healthcare workers are engaged with it. According to NBC New York, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office charged Jasmine Clifford, 31, of Lyndhurst, New Jersey, with selling the fake cards, and the Deja Barkley, 27, of Bellport, New York, with entering at least 10 of the buyers into the state's centralized database, which powers the state's Excelsior Pass, while working at the Pashag Medical Clinic. Okay, let's put a picture of Miss Clifford up. Styling. That's Miss Clifford, a New York State Police investigator who became aware of the scam a few weeks ago, tested it by contacting Clifford to order a fake card and to be added to the state vaccine database, prosecutors said. In July, the investigator said in court papers, he received a package containing a CDC COVID-19 vaccination card marked with the name and date of birth he provided, and a cell phone screenshot showing that the information he provided had also been added to the state database. Quite interesting. Once again, sophisticated scheme. The DA's office also charged 13 people with buying the fake cards from Clifford via her Anti-vax Mama account. Among them, hospital and nursing home workers. Let me pause there for a minute. And let me just say clearly why this is so problematic. When you go to a hospital, when you check your loved one into a nursing home, you sign an agreement. That agreement works both ways. They tell you some things about their workers and the responsibility of their workers, and you tell them some things about your responsibility to them, okay? It's a contract. And you expect to be safe, and you expect your loved one to be safe. You do not expect someone who says, yes, I have been vaccinated, to go and get a damn fake vaccination card. Now I get it, Ms. Clifford, what she did was criminal. She has been charged. What these individuals in the healthcare field did, that was criminal and egregious, okay? These are people that literally took an oath. I don't know what oath Ms. Jasmine Clifford took, but I know the people in the healthcare industry, they have a policy and protocol. They promised us some things. They are responsible to us. I don't know, Ms. Clifford. All right, the Facebook said it prohibits this kind of activity, blah, blah, blah. It always says that. It said that they deactivated the account early August for breaking the rules. According to the New York Times, There was a warrant out for Ms. Clifford's arrest, but she did not appear in the courtroom on Tuesday. She is expected to be charged with 2 felonies related to the scheme, in addition to the conspiracy charge, which, by the way, is a misdemeanor. Let's go to the video.
She posted this the other day, explaining that she has a backlog of messages and also that she's looking to expand her team. So if you have computer access at hospitals or CVS, DM me ASAP. I told her I work at a Walgreens. She said to text her ASAP. She asked if I had access to enter the vaccine information into the system, and then asked, because I'm in Florida, how do people verify here that they're in the system? Because in New York, they have an app. I explained in Florida we have a site you can do that on, and asked what exactly she needed. She told me she provides the person's name, date of birth, address, the vaccination date, asked if I can backdate them, and then has me enter them into the system to generate lot numbers. She told me the woman in New York that's doing it for her, she's given $100 a person. She's doing at least 30 people a day, and that woman's making $10,000 a week. Now you may ask, why would someone take the risk and do something like this? Well, it seems in her case it's at least due in part to the fact that she believes that the vaccines are sterilizing children as part of the gay agenda.
Okay, that's just silly as hell, but I really don't give a damn what she believes. She's putting other people in danger. And these healthcare workers are doing the exact same thing. Amazing. Looks like her #1 client were people who are supposed to protect us, right? Cenk, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, 2 things here. First, I'm always stunned by people's lack of empathy towards others.
Yeah.
Really, you're gonna go into a nursing home with a fake vaccine card and purposely put those elderly folks' lives in danger. And why? Well, I feel like all the doctors in the world are part of a global conspiracy. And I don't like that feeling. And my feelings matter more than the lives of all these people. Or you're a nurse or you're a doctor and you're gonna fake it and you're gonna go into a hospital and endanger people's lives because of your feelings. Their entitlement, their arrogance is, and their danger cannot be understated. So cannot be overstated. So the second thing is, honestly, Rashad, the story didn't surprise me, and people's greed is infinite, and it's ruining the planet. But what surprised me was the felony charges. And I read a couple of articles and I was shaking my head because I know right-wing privilege, and most of the folks that are anti-vaccine are right-wingers. And I'm like, felony charges, that seems unusual. They almost never get subjected to the law like the rest of us. And so then I actually Google searched the woman involved in the story because I noticed the names and I thought, wait a minute. And then when I saw the image, I was like, oh, of course she's black.
Yep.
That explains the felony charge, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and remember,
there's no end to it. There's no end to it.
You got a medical doctor writing these fake anti-mask excuses, right? Advertising it on multiple social media sites in violation of all protocol and law. Not charged with a felony. Not charged with a felony. As a matter of fact, they had to go through a process to remove the person from the medical clinic just to get rid of them as a doctor at that facility. So you make a very compelling point.
Yeah,
all right,
Rashad,
go ahead.
I just want to say one quick thing. I just want to clarify to people. She should be charged with a felony.
Yeah.
But so should the other people that are actually doing the fraud, right? They should all be charged, and it shouldn't be based on their race or political orientation.
That's right. It's based on the impact to the larger society, and this has a hell of an impact. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I usually would tell all young people, respect adults, but I'm going to have to give this young man a pass. I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on him for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
I feel free. Back off! I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
I ain't got a lease to stay here?
A lease agreement.
I don't have a lease agreement?
I don't know, do you?
Exactly, you don't know. So mind your business, bitch. Go sit down.
I told you, it's in your lease agreement, you can't ride a skateboard.
Well, guess what I'ma do? I'ma step on this bitch and I'ma ride that.
I know. She said he needed a lease. he started recording. He responded to her the way he responded. This particular Karen, once again, follows suit with all of those who have Karenicity, which is, I need to regulate this other person, put them in their place. But this was a TikToker and music producer named Memphis Blue. And Memphis Blue simply was not having it. Let's put up a picture of old Memphis Blue. A lot of people know the guy. Here's the Karen who said he needed a lease to be there. We have a picture of the Karen? Okay, we'll have one in post. I had mixed feelings when I saw this, right? But then I said, well, she asked for it. If you walk up to a random black person and demand they show you documentation for their existence, what do you expect? Respect to you? You weren't respectful to them. You want them to be courteous to you? You weren't courteous to him. Jack, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I got tons of mixed feelings about this because I'm a grumpy old man, and sometimes skaters, like this one time, skater jumped right in front of my car, and then like looks back at me like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was driving on the road when you jumped in front of me and nearly killed yourself, right? So I say that stuff, and the skaters get at me online and stuff. So I get it. On the other hand, no, you don't need a lease. And what are you asking people for a lease? And if he skated over her toes, then we're having a different conversation,
sure,
right?
Exactly.
Right. And so, and guys, of course, the real issue here is, and I've lived this my whole life because I'm kind of race neutral. It depends on what I'm wearing. If I'm wearing rundown clothes and I'm in a rundown car, which has been my most of my life, cops will treat me differently. If I'm wearing a nice jacket and I can walk into any restaurant or any hotel and nobody's gonna ask me for a lease. Okay, so I've seen both worlds, and here, if the guy, look, it's weird to think of a skater in a suit. But did it partly depend on the fact that he was young and he was those other factors, etc., as to why she went at him? And then I thought at the end, though, yeah, of course he was rude back. There's no question. But why do they only get to be rude to us? So, yeah,
it is what it is. I have a philosophy, man. I don't always take the high road, brother. Sometimes I take the road that the other person came traveling in on. We're gonna be on the same road together. That's my philosophy on some stuff. Okay, all right, we got more on the other side. Stick and stay, it's indisputable.
I'll predict right here for you, Chris. I think Donald Trump will leave office before his term is up. He'll be humiliated, embarrassed, and I know him. He's not gonna wanna lose, and he's gonna run for the hills.
You got that bet all day long.
Okay, let's get after it. Now, so look, Jake has made some good predictions, and this is in good fun. I could not disagree more.
There's a little bromance between the two of them. You got that bet all day long, Janky, you. Oh, you stop. In the meantime, let's call him out on the damage.
No, but
I just got a Roku set. Did basically a little bit of channel surfing, and I was like, there we are.
Yeah.
There we are. And then I turned it on, and it was John and Brett on Damage Report making fun of me.
Oh no.
So you are so busted. I even took a picture of it, okay? They're talking about my predictions. I got a new prediction for you, John Idarola.
You're doing a show that's blowing the doors off everybody.
Young Turks is the largest online news network, not a big deal. We're gonna rock the boat. We're gonna be counter-establishment. We're gonna tell people the truth to the best of our abilities. We're so sick of this corruption. We're not the robots on TV. I actually care about the news. Guilty, I care. Fourth day on Occupy Wall Street. Last night we launched Wolfpack. It's us pushing our ideas out there, trying to help the country in every way that we can, trying to make this place just a little bit better. Reporting from the Hillary-Bernie debate, I gotta be honest, you know what we do, we cover it for real. For us, this system isn't working. Free and fair elections. And when he told the cops that
day when they came to drag her away, and he said, if you're gonna chain her, you're gonna chain me. If you're gonna arrest her, you're gonna arrest me.
Hi, I'm Bartholomew Joseph Kyle. I do audio for the main show, The Young Turks. I also do audio for Post Game. I started in 2006. I met Cenk Uygur at the Iraq for Sale screening that was directed by Robert Greenwald. And watching that, I want to figure out a way to be part of something that's genuine and authentic.
Welcome back. It's indisputable. Good to be with you. Let's go to some of these amazing comments. Okay. Really, my co-host, Cenk, should be reading this, but I will try. This is from TYT member, my poet, Kelly O'Hara. She says, look at this lady in all of her whiteness, showing a total lack of politeness. She's all in his business without remorse. Is she a Karen? Well, yeah, of course.
Nicely done, Rashad. Nicely
all right,
done.
I tried. You know, I'm the guy that has to read it, so I had to give it its thank you for saying that. And bars, by the way, Kelly, bars. Danielle LaBQ, hi, Dr. Richie. It is always great to see you. I was super happy to see we have Cenk on the show today. What a great day it is to have two of my favorite guys on my favorite show. Love you both, and as always, thanks for keeping me up to date on the truth. And Danielle, love you back, okay? Thank you for saying that. Biden flavor corn pop. And by the way, have we found corn pop? Is corn pop still alive?
Well, we need to find him because I know he's a bad dude.
Bad dude, bad cat, okay? Makes sense. These social media influencers smell money in that 40% anti-vaxxer bunch. YouTube super chat, Chris Lee Joseph Massey III. Oh my God, Cenk and Dr. Rashad together. Glad I called out sick today. Now I'm gonna get a double dose of this truth. Hashtag true duo. Thank you for that. We'll appreciate that. Ton Don phrased EU. I know I slaughtered that. I apologize in advance. I like the way, I think you mean, I like the way you talk about politics. Thank you. Jill Wagner says, these videos of anti-maskers, congressmen and women, talking about taking up arms, civil wars, and other rhetoric is serious and scary. Where's Merrick Garland? Yeah. Caravenus, thank you. May Money in the building says, I call it logging into wrongb.com. Karen got the password, logged in, and got cursed out. Should have minded your business, lady. Sweet peas, skateboarder scratched an internal itch. Kev Z 247, thank you for that, Kev. Guillermo Gonzalez, forget being nice. Let's just be honest. And honestly, nobody has to waste their time hearing out of Karen. Twitch, Genocide 2002. What terrifies me about this is that she actually entered people into the database. Yeah. Dragon Penny. They are so desperate to infect others, they are willing to pay $250 for the privilege. Robert 1007. That kid was fantastic. Cheers to him. Blazer, so when do we do the contest on which audience member can do the best? I wish a Karen Wood intro. I love it. Well, listen, you're actually in luck, ladies and gentlemen, because today, double dose.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
You're still free! Back off! I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
I am in support of you.
My husband died July 4th of COVID. My daughter is back at school where she now feels unsafe because she has to wear a mask. When she just lost her dad July 4th. Now my daughter has the stress of losing her dad. Now she's back in school with the stress of having to wear a mask where she don't feel safe because they say the masks are not safe. The vaccines are not safe. Where are you?
Let me say this. I'm sorry that this young person father died, okay? That has nothing to do with the mask being worn. Now, the reason why I highlight this particular Karen, because I got some questions. Number one, why in the hell is she in the classroom? Number one, and engaging the teacher directly. I don't understand this, she should have been removed. No one is saying that the mask does not decrease. Let me start that over. No reasonable person is saying that the mask does not decrease the spread of COVID. Who's saying it? Unreasonable people. But unreasonable people say a lot of things. Unreasonable people say we're not actually on the planet, this is a simulation. Unreasonable people say that the earth is actually flat, okay? Unreasonable people say a lot of things and they believe it and they take it to heart and they're passionate about it and they believe in something. Well, that's on them. But this sentiment is not in a silo. There was a time when conspiracy theories actually existed in a minority of the population, and I mean a single-digit minority. I read a statistic today that said that damn near 70% of Republicans still believe the election was stolen from Donald Trump. There was a time when that kind of conspiracy, that theory with absolutely no evidence to back it up, would have been roughly 7% of the population or the Republican movement. Now it's the majority. And even things that are considered to be extreme conspiracies, like for example, the insurrectionists, January 6th. I think everyone watching me can agree that those were right-wing Trump supporters. According to the data I read this morning, 48% of Trump supporters, those who are Republicans, they actually believe it was a conspiracy of the left that attacked the Capitol. 48%. Jank, this is part of a larger problem as it relates to our relationship with fact and truth.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So she said they say masks are not safe. Who's they? And you know who they is. Randos on social media plus conservative media. And so it's amazing to me that folks will say, the vaccines are not tested enough. That's why I'm taking horse paste.
Right.
What? No, ivermectin is perfectly tested if you have tapeworm, but not if you have coronavirus. There's no testing on that. There was one fake study and yet people do it. It's amazing. They'll believe a stranger online that they don't even know if it's a real person, but they won't believe all of the doctors in the world. How do you, and that leads to the hardest part, Rashad. How do you talk to people if you're not speaking the same language? We are speaking the language of facts, reason, and logic. and they're speaking the language of emotions and conspiracy and nonsense. So, I mean, for God's sake, her husband died from COVID. And now she's saying, well, that's why I don't want my daughter to wear a mask. Well, that's the exact opposite of logic. So I don't know how to communicate with you. How can you talk sense to someone who doesn't believe in sense?
Yeah, you can't. That's the whole thing. And it's called confirmation bias, where you start with your bias and all you seek is confirmation of that bias, no matter how it comes, no matter what form it comes in, and no matter if it's antithetical to fact, truth, logic, and science. Okay, this is a really, really weird scene. Young black male driving, not committing any criminal act, not suspected of even a traffic violation. He notices that a sheriff deputy is following him without turning on his lights. He pulls into a well-lit parking lot, and here's what happened.
I've been getting followed by this police officer. He hasn't put his lights on. The sheriff, I don't know what he's doing. I just pulled over at IGA, and he still haven't got out. I don't know what his problem is. I don't know. I'm gonna just see his, look, now he's trying to lie at me. I guess I have my hand in my pocket, but he's running my tags or something for some reason. So I don't know what's going on. Looks like he might have another sheriff on their way. I don't know. There's another one. For some reason, they're pulling up on me. They have to some type of interaction with me. There's no lights, so we have one here and one here. Hey,
how you doing, sir?
Is there any reason for this contact?
You're free to go.
Oh, okay. Can I get a name and badge number for both you guys?
Sure. I'm Deputy Vaughn.
Deputy Vaughn?
Yeah.
Okay. You got a badge number?
1126.
1126. What's your name and badge number?
Deputy Adam.
Deputy Adam?
Yep.
Okay.
1200.
1200? Yep. Okay. Is there a reason for any of this here?
My lights aren't on.
I know they're not on. I know. I know. I recognize that.
And you're not detained. You're free to go.
I know, but I'm wondering what is this?
You pulled in here at a public parking lot. You're free to go.
Okay, but I wonder what is going on. Why are you guys parked like this? Like you're not in a parking spot. You're parked blocking here. I'm just wondering what's that?
You're absolutely right, sir.
Okay.
You're free to go. Thank you, though, so much. You're also free to stay.
Yeah, I know I'm free to stay. That's why I'm asking questions to see why are you parked in. You're confused. I'm confused why you're parked like that, and you're parked like that, and y'all both out of the vehicles. And told me I'm
out of the vehicle and started videotaping.
Yeah, because I'm wondering why you park like that. And I was going to ask you. You haven't ever turned on your lights or said anything, and then you get out. You said I'm not detained and I'm free to go and I'm free to stay. So I'm also free to ask questions. So I'm just wondering why are you guys?
Yeah. Deputy, I think we should probably go roadside with you up here. Thank you.
Yeah. So on some police cruisers, the actual lights will turn on the dash cam, okay? They followed this individual. He saw them following him, so we pulled over into a parking lot, thank God. Let me remind you of who these deputies are. We have not been able to identify yet, I'm sure that's coming soon, who they work for. We have limited information and would love your help in figuring out who they are. Deputy Vaughn, badge number 1126. Deputy Adam, badge number 1200. Here's what we know so far. This was originally posted on TikTok by Stink Ace 2. This video later reposted on Reddit in the public freakout, shredded caption. the dangers of driving through an American sundown town, okay? As stated by the man recording, it occurred in the parking area of an IGA supermarket, okay? Somebody also noted that it looked like Washington, but we don't know for sure. We have no idea as of yet, all right? Would love your help in that. Jank, this is spooky as hell. I would have been really terrified if this happened to me.
Yeah, so a couple of things here. First, they get out and say, "Oh, you're free to go." Well, right back at you, brother. You're also free to go. Why are you guys surrounding me? Like, if I'm free to go and I'm free to stay and I didn't do anything wrong, then why are you guys here? Why don't you go solve crime or something? like they're acting as if like, what's the big deal? But no, you pulled up on me. I didn't pull up on you. Right. And then you called for backup, and then you guys got me in a pincer move here. It's a natural question, like, what's up?
And then they tried to flip it, like, I'm confused. One of the deputies literally said he's confused.
Yeah. Yeah, and so look, likely they followed him into that first guy followed him into the parking lot, likely because he looked into the car, right? And then he probably looked up his plates and found out there's nothing wrong with the car. And then he saw him recording. He's like, "Oh, we gotta get out of here." Mm-hmm. Okay, now that's the good news though, Rashad, because they're now a little bit afraid of the cell phone cameras.
Yeah,
and that is great news. Because when we remember the days when they weren't afraid of the cell phone cameras, right? And now apparently enough cops have been fired for beating people up and killing them, etc. That when you got a camera, they're like, "Whoa, hey, you're free to go, free to stay." Yep. All of a sudden, so hey, I love that part of the story.
Yeah, and the reason why it's different, and you hit on it just now, is because it's used in prosecution of cops. If it wasn't, they would not give a damn, right? The tool is effective. It's like hand in glove. Not only because people are willing to record, but there are some prosecutors willing to hold them accountable. My brother, it is always a pleasure chopping it up with you, man. Thank you.
Oh, I loved it. And it gave me a chance to be indisputable. So
that's right, every time, brother. Thank you, my friend.
Shot at it.
All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
You know, old school's pitched to me from Jank. It'll just be me, you, Jesus, Ben, and maybe Michael. And we're like, okay, cool. I can do that every week. As you can see, me, Jesus, Ben.
When you make the order, it says, don't exceed $20.01. So I'll just order literally anything to get it as close to that as I possibly can.
I'm sorry that I ordered $45 worth of food and got an email saying, "Sir, would you like to rethink that?" What are you talking about?
I was in hell. I was just like, oh my God, the theater's empty, nobody's here. Everyone on screen keeps fucking cursing. Why did I let this happen? And the whole thing looks like it was shot through a glass of milk. My mom's gonna be so mad.
If you're looking for a heart attack, the short way, baby.
Wrong. I did put mayonnaise on it. I'm the most in shape, overweight person you'll find.
That's right.
He was like, why didn't you answer my call? I called you 39 times.
Yuck. But what makes you stop right before 40? What makes you say, nah, man, I ain't doing that no more. I'm cool.
And I called you back on the air. And I was like, okay, Kevin Smith, big shot. What the you said you'd come on and you didn't come on.
I'm sure I took that very well.
Yeah, you did. You called me back the next day and said, I thought it was 7 a.m. And there's now deep fake porn. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
I heard of it. I just had some in the car.
I'll tell you who I'm not Ben Mankiewicz. Have you guys ever felt that?
Not ever.
And now it's just the three of us.
This is the intimate hour.
By the way, the last half hour of this, we're not even rolling.
Fair enough. Kingsley. See, I watch movies.
I'm done with both of you.
Once Greg starts laughing, I can't stop. And I was just gonna ask you about getting high, snoogans, snoochie boochies.
And members, of course, you can get the whole damn thing. TYT.com, join and free trial.
I'm old school with the old folks.
Good.
John, come back.
Field goal here. It's time to switch to beer.
Oh, God.
Do your best.
He's a little like.
Oh. No one's happy now.
Give him another try.
Oh. Wow.
This is the weirdest game.
I'm Brett. I would like to refer to this segment as the Do I Still Have This Talent show. So I want to see if I can play harmonica without my hands. I don't know why I have that. Nothing's gonna be more impressive than that. I can also spin a basketball on my finger. While drinking. I'm gonna spin a basketball on my finger while drinking apple juice. You can do this, dude. It's also flat. I don't know if that helps or hurts. And it seems to be somewhat wobbly. Ta-da! Nope, I don't know how to do this one. This one's a fail. Nope. Oh God, I'm so mad.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of comments. Don't forget to watch the conversation live today, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. TYT.com/live. That's before the Young Turks. Great show today, hosted by none other than Adrian Lawrence. And also make sure to subscribe and watch all interviews at YouTube.com/TYT conversation. Okay, make that happen. TYT member Biden Flavor Corn Pop says, following us. Thank you for filming technology, Steve Jobs. Cray Cray Souffle. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Yeah. YouTube super chat. Ken Bernardo, thank you for that. Tyler Hackner. These people are so selfish and dangerous. Yeah. Ricardo Chucky. You're free to go. Never felt so menacing. I mean, it really did. It felt like, oh yeah. Go ahead and leave if you want to. That's what it felt like, right? King T, free to go, but they got him boxed in from front and back. These guys are crazy. Yeah. Sunshine Dragon, oh my God. So the cop turned the lights off? No lights, no cam? There you have it. No lights, no camera. That was the idea. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. All right, in the bullpen today, we got Mark Meckler, President, Convention of States. He's practiced law for 2 decades, very accomplished individual. We're going to talk about the Convention of States. I actually agree with some of the methodology here, so I don't know if this will be as much of a debate as people think, but I do disagree on some of what they would like to add as amendments. Mark, welcome. How are you?
Hey, it's great to be with you. Love your story, man. Great story of redemption. So it's a real honor to be on your program.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate you saying that. And it's an honor to have you on the show. Let's first get some background. I don't want to presume all that you know or believe about Article 5 of the Constitution, which is your convention article. But give some background to your sentiment about it and how you think it should be used in America.
Sure, Article 5 is in the Constitution. It contains the way that we can amend the Constitution. Of course, we have 27 amendments. Those have all been done by Congress proposing when 2/3 of either house proposes. Then they go out to the states for ratification by 3/4. What we're proposing is the second method, which is it's time for the states to act to rein in the federal government. That takes 2/3 of the states to request a convention. They then gather in convention when a majority of states propose amendments. Those go out to the states for ratification. So that's the general process and what we're trying to accomplish.
So let me make sure my numbers are right. It's, I think, 34 states to call the convention. It takes 38 states to ratify any amendments that oppose and add that to the actual US Constitution, right?
That's perfect.
Okay, I actually like the idea. Now, we've never used it, that's the problem. And so this is a very new concept. Let me tell you why I like the idea. I don't like all ideas, but I like the fact there is a methodology because of the gridlock that is in Washington. Now, that doesn't mean I like some of the things that you may want to propose on it. But before we get into the disagreement, let's talk about the agreement. Why do you think this has never been used, even though it is a directive article in the US Constitution? And when I say never been used, I'm not talking about everyday folks. I'm talking about people who are governors, people who are head of legislative bodies. They don't talk about this process in the US Constitution, even if they are proclaiming a platform antithetical to the federal government. Why is it that they don't bring this up?
Yeah, I think because it's really difficult, and the founders intended for it to be really difficult. As a student of the Constitution, you know that the founders didn't want it to be easily amended. They wanted large, broad national consensus, and so to get 34 states to agree to get into convention is hard. To get 38 states to ratify anything, obviously even a higher bar. This is the highest bar in the American system of governance, so it's not easy. There've been over 400 applications for a convention. We've just never had 2/3 of the applications that match. That's required. It's a legal term called aggregation for the actual applications to match up so we can get to convention.
What's the highest number you all have been able to accomplish?
Well, the highest number in American history, as far as I'm aware, was 32. That goes back to the 1980s, and they were trying to get to a convention for just a balanced budget amendment. And then that started to get pushed back on their way back now. Our organization is now at 15 states that have passed this. We have another 8 states that have passed it in one house or another, and 49 states have introduced it.
What is your aim? Is it to deconstruct the federal government, defund the federal government, or a combination of both?
It's actually neither of the above. The aim is to go back to the intent of the founders regarding our structure, which is that the Constitution contains a limited set of enumerated powers that were granted to the federal government. The rest was supposed to remain with the people and the states. And unfortunately, over the past 115 years or so, the federal government's powers have expanded dramatically. And I think this is one of the reasons for so much contention in the United States. Whether we have a Democratic administration or a Republican administration, you have half the people in the country are very frustrated. And that's because the power base was always intended to be in the states and not at the federal government.
Explain this to me. So if the aim is not, if you get to this place without deconstructing the federal government, I don't get the methodology, because if you are successful, it will create a de facto deconstruction of the federal government because they won't have the same authority or power of oversight. And it will also defund the federal government because that taxation will no longer have a federal emphasis, it will have a local state emphasis. And so you are now defunding the federal government. Am I missing something?
I think you actually are missing something. So it depends, and we need to be careful about how we define terms. When you say deconstruct the federal government as constructed is laid out in the United States Constitution. It's very clear, and the courts have expanded that definition beyond the Constitution. So what we're trying to do is go back to something closer to the original Constitution. So I'd actually call that reconstructing the federal government, not deconstructing the federal government.
Okay, and it would take money away from the federal government because you now have this, very emphasized state protocol, correct?
Well, I think it could, but it's not necessary that it does. And this is an important point to note. There are no policy prescriptions in this. In other words, what we're just talking about is where is the authority. So it's not necessary for the federal government to give up money, and there's not a necessary transfer of money to the states from the federal government under our application. It's theoretically possible, but it's not necessary under the application.
Now, this takes me to my next question, because I'm glad I'm interviewing you, because this is one thing that always stood out to me, and I'm sure you can provide some clarity to this. When we talk about Article 5, how does Article 5 stand up to the co-equal branches of power? How does that now work when you have a much more, let's say, subdued federal government? Does it change that structure on any level at all? And does it increase or enhance the powers of independent states to pass laws contrary to the executive branch?
Well, I do think it changes the balance of power. And I think what it does is ideally, it takes the balance of power back to the states where it was intended to be. The branches were never intended to be co-equal. In fact, Congress was supposed to be intended to be the most powerful branch of the federal government. The founders thought the courts would be the weakest. They've ended up being the strongest. And we now have an executive, which Congress largely lets go unchecked. But in regard to the states versus the federal government, the states through Article 5 were always intended to be the final check on federal government power. Article 5, the second clause, was put in at the end of convention, September 15th, 1787. Colonel George Mason addresses the men assembled and said, "We've made a mistake. We've given the power to Congress to propose amendments, but we've not given it to the people and the states." And he says, he asked this question: do we expect a federal government that becomes a tyranny to ever propose amendments to restrain its own tyranny? We know what they thought, because it was a unanimous vote without debate to give the states this ultimate power over the federal government. So that was clearly the intent of the founders.
So let me talk about the intent of the founders. I'm glad you brought that up, because I do find it interesting that on one argument, we will say that the founders were very appropriate and judicious, for lack of a better term, about how the structure of government should work. But they also made a bunch of mistakes. They also got some things wrong. And when we talk about the amendments that have been added to the US Constitution, well, that's just a fancy word for corrections, because we have evolved as a democratic society. We have said we passed this, we said it was this way, but we have matured to a better understanding of it. So when you say, Mark, we want to return back to more so of an original design of the founding fathers, well, I want to remind you, brother, that wasn't a good idea for people like myself, okay? The fact that we have amendments created protections and rights for individuals like me, and then the federal government, as it relates to the opposition of states' rights, created added protection for individuals like me. So I think you get it when a person like myself would say, listen, I'm cool with the methodology being present in Article 5, but I'm also hesitant based on the history of what states have done with increased enhanced authority and power.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a reasonable sensitivity, but thank God that we do have the power to amend the Constitution, because that's where so many of these protections come from. It's important to remember the original Bill of Rights came because states threatened to hold a state-based convention, an Article 5 convention. This is the reason that we got this. And I think you are correct that we have the ability to correct course as a society through the amendment process. One of the things that we know, though, is that the bigger it gets, the less responsive the federal government is to the American people. And when you look at the polling, 72% of the American people say that the federal government is too big and does too much. Now, I think you and I might disagree on a partisan basis or on an ideological basis, which parts are too big and do too much. And I think there's room for debate there. But the vast majority of the American people say the federal government's too big and too much in our business and in our everyday lives, and that we'd rather be governed closer to home.
Well, that you bring up an interesting point, because I've also seen similar studies that will suggest that when they talk about the federal government, they mean government in general. That government in general has too much room in the everyday life of citizens in the country, not just the federal government. And those same studies will highlight that people actually agree with what the federal government has done in many instances as it relates to education, social issues, etc. So yeah, you definitely will have some negative sentiment there, but you will also have a lot of positive, right? Let me ask you this, because this is specific to what's happening now.
Sure.
Right now, you have a battle between what's happening with voting rights, record-breaking legislative session last cycle because of former President Donald Trump saying the election was stolen from him. Now, I believe that we should have uniformity in our elections. That's what I believe, and uniform protections. That's what those that fought in the 60s were actually fighting for. They wanted uniform protections. But these states, they want to enhance their power and turn down or turn away from the authority of the federal government to create this uniform policy. So what are your thoughts about that? Do you think that the state should independently run elections and not have accountability from the federal government whatsoever?
Yeah, I mean, let's first go to the Constitution. I think the Constitution largely gives the authority to the states on how to run their elections. But I want to be really clear, and I'm afraid a lot of conservatives don't get this right. There is a clause in the Constitution and in the elections clause that really actually gives the federal government authority to essentially do what they're doing, what they've tried to do with HR 1, I think what they're doing to some extent with HR 4, that authority exists in the Constitution. So it's there, we got to deal with it. If somebody didn't like it, they would need to change it. Those are the two pieces of our election law, though, that come directly from the Constitution.
Brother, I'm so glad you said that, because that was going to be my next point. The US Constitution, Article 1, Section 4, Clause 1, it empowers both Congress and state legislatures to regulate the times, places, and manner of holding elections. And it gives deference to the powers of Congress if there's a conflict of those exacting powers. That is in Article 1, Section 4, Clause 1 of the Constitution. So I'm glad you said that, man. It shows me that you have significant intellectual integrity about what you believe. Because you're right, I have had countless Republicans, even on my show. Obviously, you've heard them pontificate on television that somehow the federal government does not have the constitutional basis in order to regulate elections. However, it is right there in the Constitution. And if you're going to be a purist in your intellectual thinking or your linear logic, you must adhere to the fact that the Constitution does, in fact, empower the US Congress to oversee and to change matters of rules as it relates to the election. You don't have to like it, but you cannot proclaim that that is unconstitutional.
I agree with you.
Yeah. What do you think would happen, man, if, let's say 34 states, they say, you know what, we're gonna hold a convention. And I'm not saying they agree. I'm saying Democrats and Republicans, brother. Let's act like we in La La Land for a minute, okay? Democrats and Republicans, they say, okay, we're gonna do the 34 thing. That's your prerequisite to have a convention. And then we'll discuss some things at the convention and see if maybe we find 38 governors or legislatures who may actually agree on a few things, right?
Correct.
What happens then, brother, to the implementation? And let me tell you why I bring this to the forefront. Because we have never done it before, and because we have never actually implemented any one of these Article 5 strategies before, if you actually get an Article 5 convention and a 38-member ratification, the federal government does not have a protocol to implement what the directive is, or at least not a known protocol that we've seen. What happens at that point?
Well, I think it would be different according to whatever specific amendments come out and get ratified. But if you look at the history, there is a protocol. Essentially, we have 27 amendments prior in American history ratified by the states and then enacted, put into the federal Constitution, and the states have had to abide by those primarily through the extension of the 14th Amendment. And so we have a protocol for doing this. I want to get a little bit more specific, and maybe I can get more at what you're asking specifically, which is, for example, one of the things that's being proposed is a balanced budget amendment. And there's about an 85% approval rating for this in the American public. It goes across party lines. So we all know we got to balance our own checkbook at some point. And so what that looks like exactly, I think we can debate that. But let's say that comes out. Well, if you said balance your budget tomorrow, not only would the federal government crash and burn, but the entire world economy would crash and burn. So what I imagine is that the folks who are preparing this amendment would create a protocol whereby certain programs are grandfathered. There's a certain amount of time before it kicks in order that the federal government can adjust. And frankly, the world's economy could adjust to a balanced budget amendment.
You know, I like the idea, brother, of the federal government having significant power over some of the state governments that would be adversarial to me and communities that I advocate for. And until that is remedied, this conversation will always be at least somewhat problematic with me because of that connection. What are you all doing with the Convention of States, I guess, to mitigate that nuance that many people of color have in this country?
Yeah, and I think this is really important. I'm glad you asked that question, Doctor, because what we're doing is there are specific requirements around this convention of the things that can be discussed. And there are things that the American people are broadly in favor of. We poll this broadly. It's about 66% of Americans are in favor of this, roughly 75% Democrats, about 66% of independents, 75% Republicans, 66 of independents, and 52 Democrats. And really what we're talking about is term limits. Almost everybody favors those. A balanced budget amendment, almost everybody favors those. And limitations on the scope, the power, and the jurisdiction of the federal government. And so I believe that that provides the protections that you're looking for. That's my opinion on the matter. Of course, that's my opinion, to be fair.
Come on, brother. You know good and damn well if you increase some of the power in these southern states in particular, they are going to run mad with it. Come on, man. You know that.
Look, I will disagree with you. I've been in 48 states. I don't know how much time you spent on the road, but I've been in 48 states in the last 2 years. What I love about this country when I travel is what I see, that I see the brotherhood and sisterhood of man all over this country. I'm a Christian, that I see Christians living together and working together and praying together all over this country. I'm in these legislatures. I see people of color, I see white folks, I see gay, lesbian folks in these legislatures getting along. It's difficult because it's partisan and they have their fights, but I don't agree with you. I'm not worried about the southern states, and frankly, I think the southern states are better off than the northern states. If you look at migration patterns for folks of color, they're moving from the north to the south. If it was so bad in the south, those migration patterns would not be evident. They would not be factual, and they are.
Brother, I wish I had much more time, but here's what I want to do, because I would love for you and I to debate that element of enhanced state power. Some would call it states' rights. If you want to stay away from that terminology, that's on you. I believe it is a de facto design to get you closer to states' rights. But let me ask you a question.
Well, I'm gonna jump in here. That's not true. That's not the intent. Nobody in our organization has ever said that. I've never heard anybody say that in a legislature. So I'm not gonna allow you, doctor, to just put that on me. We've been having a really good.
No, brother, that's my opinion, brother.
Yeah, but you're putting it on me. You're saying
no. What I'm doing is putting it out there for the record. That is my opinion.
You can say that's your opinion, but you said that's the de facto plan, and that's just false.
That's what I believe. I believe that's the design.
Yeah, well, that's your belief. You actually have no factual basis for that belief. If you could present me with some facts that demonstrate that, I'd be happy to debate those. But you're just making that up out of thin air.
No, Mark, I could present you with some facts, brother. Yeah. Let's go to the state of Georgia. State of Georgia, Senate Bill 202, passed the General Assembly, passed the Senate, only had Republican support. It made it a misdemeanor offense for anyone to give food or water to somebody waiting in a line at a voting precinct. 98% of lines, those that have been actually surveyed, are in black precincts in the state of Georgia. The reason why they passed that law, which even Lindsey Graham went on Fox News and said that was a silly ass law to him. The reason why they passed that law is because there was no requirement of pre-clearance from the DOJ. Why was there no requirement for pre-clearance? Because the US Supreme Court set aside the Voting Rights Act and said this is now a legislative issue. And so the state government got an enhanced power. And what did they do with that enhanced power? They decided to make a criminal offense when there is no criminal at all. That only adversely affected 98% of precincts that were African American populated in the state of Georgia. You don't find that to be problematic, brother? That to me takes us closer to the design of what's called states' rights, where they will engage in discriminatory practices in order to meet their political agenda without accountability to any other governmental agency, because before the Supreme Court set it aside, the DOJ would have had to approve that legislation.
Yeah, and I would call that crazy over-criminalization, and I would say it has nothing to do with Convention of States, and you're making a straw man argument about an election law in Georgia. What you did that in response to me saying that you have no evidence that what we're doing is a de facto way to create essentially what you're saying are racist laws. It's just not true. It's a straw man argument. It has nothing to do with what we're doing.
Mark,
you're completely off tangent. And by the way, to be fair, we have an email exchange where I told you I'm not a states' rights guy. That's not the debate that we're having today. I figured you'd try to work it in. I'm not interested in having that debate with you, doctor.
Mark, let me be very clear with you, brother. I don't give a damn that that's not what you believe. I'm telling you what I believe. Now you can disagree with me. That's an open conversation. That makes it transparent. I'm telling you that if we enhance the rights of these states, the authorities of these states, I believe that they would take advantage of it and try to utilize it in a discriminatory fashion because of the historical evidence of their previous social ills. That's what I believe.
I'm very clear with what you're very clear, doctor. I understand what you believe.
Okay. All right, Mark, I do appreciate you coming on Indisputable. Thank you, brother.
Thanks for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, make sure you take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.